Okay, so this is day 2, Isolation Diaries. So we're gonna continue with this book again. This is really what I've been starting with, what I took from the library. And I'm very aware that I'm merely showcasing my own experience. So some of the things that I want to kind of get into today and see how far we can get is I want to do the banana, which is the first figures that he discusses, and the eggs. What he discusses is to sketch out the drawing first with an HB pencil and then consequentially with diluted cobalt blue that you can then let dry and later paint over. And the idea is that you dilute the blue with either, he does it with brush dilutant, I decided to do it with gel kit simply because I really like the medium in the previous experiment. So it lets it dry quicker and it makes the paint flow easier. So now we'll start sketching out with the cobalt blue. He really dilutes it, so I'm really gonna see how much I can add to it and really make it as thin as possible. So it dries as quickly as possible. The idea is that you can start painting over 20 minutes later. So really need to aim for that. Yeah, I think that's it, and I think we're gonna let that dry for 20 minutes. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna move on to the eggs. So when sketching out the eggs, I'm very aware that I really need to clarify where the darkest shadow is. That's called the core shadow. It goes around the egg because the light source hits the egg at the top and then it keeps reflecting. It even reflects it looks like the eggs are standing on a very reflective surface. It's very likely that on the bottom of the egg there's a bit of an edge of some light coming. Even though there's lots of shadow, there will be a bit of light kind of coming from the bottom. So you will see light, quite dark, a bit of light, and then darker. And that middle shadow is a core shadow, and it's really important to create the 3D feeling of the egg. Yeah, I think this is going to be me for like the next 20 minutes letting this dry. We're back. It's 2 hours later. A bit more even. That's sticky. I'm going to go ahead and paint over it because it's not really rubbing off on my finger at all. It's just a bit sticky, really. If we have a look how he did in the book, he really just did a very light layer of yellow. I think he has put in a bit of white. This is really what the book says. Ta-da. So I'm going to do that step now. I'm continuing using the gel kit as the medium to paint with. So I'm going to pop some more in my tin, and I think from there on I'm going to bring it over to my paint. And I'm going to keep working with the same big NAF brush simply because hopefully it will stop me from being too faffy, being too precise. I doubt it, but I'm gonna go for it. And I can notice that I'm actually able to use the yellow that I did use yesterday. It's not dried yet, so yay for oils. Honestly, I'm putting some voice recordings in later on, and now that I'm looking at it, I just can't not see the banana being a courgette. But one of the things is that I realized is that the palette got quite heavy and it started hurting my wrist, so I put it down. And I've watched a couple of videos of some other YouTubers doing oil painting, and she always set the palette down. I don't know, there's I think this idea, you have this romantic idea of people painting, holding the palettes, sitting outside, so maybe that's why I kept holding it, but working on it for a while I realized that really doesn't make sense. Pop down the palette, rest your wrist, and just kind of focusing on the painting. So one of the things of painting this with blue, it does make me a bit nervous simply because one of the things that really showed in the previous experiment is that oil keeps mixing. I really wonder, painting a yellow banana, how much of the blue will come through, so you won't really maintain the yellow, it'll become a very greenish banana. So I'm being quite careful with putting in the highlights. Just gonna do a bit of a test, because that's a bit too dark. I suggest that if you're painting yourself that you always kind of try and have a little bit of test piece of paper. Painting a banana on a Friday. Who would have thought? I suggest everybody paints a banana on Friday. Fridays is banana painting day. I think I should keep it with this bigger brush because I know myself if I'm going to grab a smaller one, I'm going to get really fussy. As I'm doing this, I can see that I'm putting on way too much colour under the banana. I'm not giving myself any space there. It is brown, but this is just way too much. I need to really kind of find a way of taking some of the color away here. But it's good to make these mistakes. It's good to kind of try it like this and to look at it and go like, okay, you know what, like safe zone, okay, next time, next level. It is, you see now, it's really satisfying and effective to start putting some of the darker browns in because they actually give a proper contrast. You can open the jar of death. Jar of death contains the brush solution, by the way, just so you know. It smells a bit like sticker remover, if you know what I mean. So I think the top surface of the banana is quite green, and I think this might be a good experiment to kind of see if I were to let this dry for a day and if I paint over it, how opaque is it? So in a way, it's good to kind of try that out. There's also, I think, very often when you're painting and when you're on the top of stuff, like you hate it and you don't like it. Like I think I was working on cloud painting. I hated it. And that's the background of my phone. I'm gonna grab a smaller brush now. I know I said I wouldn't, but I lied. So I'm gonna do a bit more of the brown accents, grabbing a bit more burnt umber. Here, kind of the shading on the side of the banana, I can see that I'm not doing it as dark as I want to. You're not getting as much of a result. So to really actually prepare your colours beforehand to create a bit more of a contrast is quite important. With acrylics, you can just paint over it, and here in the moment while you're painting it, I can see keep it mixing, and I can just see myself getting frustrated. Just to test something out, what I like to do is I like to get some tissue, put some brush dilutant on it, and try and see if I can kind of work back the underground of the banana a little bit. One of the things now that's quite interesting, because I walked away and I came back to grab the tissue, and it was quite effective because as I was able to walk away now and come back, I was already much happier with it. And I've got students who tell me that they'll drive home and they've got the drawing next to them in the car ride, and one person told me, I don't look at it until I'm home, and when I'm home I can kind of look at it and I feel much better about the drawing than I made than before. I really think that when you're looking at something for a very long time, you're just looking at all the mistakes, all the little things that you're not happy with. So it's good to do that. Get up, walk away sometimes. So I'm going to put a little bit on a bit of tissue paper of the paint dissolvent. That is interesting. This is, I guess, a technique you shouldn't really lean on though. Like, this is not really your aim, because I would want to plan out my colors better and the amount of paint that I use much better. But I can see it's a fun little technique that you can also use just to take away some paint sometime and get like a nice surface, but also being able to take away some little dots, some little spots here and there. Okay, I think someone in the distance is screaming that I need to stop. Sometimes it's hard to stop yourself. Finished. Next part, we are now going to look at the eggs. He's on the blue thing, which we've done. I think I'm going to keep using here as like a little test run. Oh, that's actually quite a good color. I'm going to go with that. In my case, the background's quite dark black almost, and the bottom of the eggs, it's funny because it's a bit orangey red. So let's see how far we will get with this. I think eggs do have like a level of pink to them, some of them. So that's why it's a bit more orangey. It's a bit of yellow in that. Might have done too much. It's gonna be hard to come back from that. But you live, you learn. One of the things that I always do try to explain to my students is the importance of isolating surfaces, being able to see not just an egg, but the little surfaces that is built up from the colors. So for example, the shadow is one color, one part of the surface, and the light part, because that way it's gonna, if you can isolate like that, it's much easier to actually put in the colors, and you're not less careful about putting in colors bit by bit. I think I kind of made myself guilty of it by doing it with the banana, but that's the best way to go about it. So sometimes, for example, I will get a student who will be completely stuck, will be looking at something, doesn't know how to continue to make something look like the image. And then it's a bit of a mean, I don't know, it feels like a bit of a mean thing to say. It's like, but if you don't paint in the shadow, if you're going to be really careful about thinking you're painting an egg but you don't see it as just the shadow part of an egg, then it's not going to look like the shadow neck. It's not going to show the element of 3D. I try to kind of give him a bit of a push sometimes like that, because that's the reality of it. If you don't paint it, it's not going to be there. So profound. I'm really exaggerating the orange color that I see in it, because I know it would look very effective, so I'm really kind of going for it. And a little bit of future Hannah here as I am putting in the background, which was very satisfying, and then started putting in the bottom of the eggs, which I was very pleased with because it got a really nice reflection. My camera stopped filming. I do apologize. I did this 2 days ago. So I am quite pleased how quickly it's dried. I did check the day after. It had dried well enough, so the gel kit really did what it's supposed to do, which is a bit of a duh, but I don't know. So this is really all an experiment for me. So the next thing that I really want to look at, you can actually see now it seems much more blue at the top. So I really want to see how well we can cover the blue part at the top. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to actually just pop the yellow on top because I want to see how it acts, if it's going to cover it nicely, if it's still going to see through a little bit. Still a little bit see-through. I'm going to just put some white in it to make it a bit opaque. Just see if it can actually cover that blue line that we did underneath, and I think it is now, which is good. That's a good thing to know. Because that's one of the things that freak me out a bit about oil, is that it does not allow me to layer away to the means I'm used to. But this is really doing a nice job. Oh yay! That is good to know. I'm pleased with that. The highlight there. I'm just gonna kind of carry it through some of the highlights through the rest of the banana. Else it's gonna look a bit disjointed. If just one highlight color is just on one part, you're gonna get disconnection in your composition. I think this was really successful. I'm glad I took the time to actually let it dry and go over it. So for me, this is a like aha moment, and all other painters like of course Hannah. But it's good to really kind of see it in action for yourself. So thank you for joining in today, and I look forward to seeing you again. Bye.